Water pollution. So, water pollution is addition of certain substances in water that may alter physical, chemical, and biological property of water and may further result in undesirable effect on living organisms and environment. There are two sources of water pollution, point source and non-point source. Point source are very easy to trace because we know the points from where the water is becoming polluted. However, non-point sources are very difficult to be traced because in non-point sources there are multiple sources involved in polluting river resources. For example, in this diagram, water is becoming polluted because of effluent from homes, from cities, from suburban development projects, from animal feedlot, etc. Water pollution can also be classified in two ways. If underground water sources are polluted, then we call it as groundwater pollution. If surface water like river is polluted, then we call it as surface water pollution. Groundwater pollution is caused by industrial effluents, mining, dumping of garbage. Surface water pollution is caused by sewage, industrial effluents, synthetic detergents, agrochemicals, oil, waste heat. Waste heat means when any industry discharges water at very high temperature, it is called as waste heat. So all these factors are responsible for water pollution. Water pollution can have number of effects. First effect is less dissolved oxygen. So wherever water is polluted, amount of oxygen dissolved in water will go down, and in that case the high pollutant present in water along with less dissolved oxygen will force threat to aquatic life. So dissolved oxygen is the amount of oxygen dissolved in water at given temperature and atmospheric pressure. So in healthy water, DO, that is dissolved oxygen, is high, and in unhealthy water, dissolved oxygen is low. So less oxygen and high pollutant can lead to death of aquatic species. Water pollution can also create a serious effect, that is increase in pathogen. So sewage, discharge, or domestic waste can increase the number of virus and bacteria present in water, and thereby if it is consumed by human beings, then people may be affected by cholera, dysentery, typhoid, jaundice. Third effect of water pollution is eutrophication. So when excessive amount of agrochemicals like fertilizers and pesticides enter into the water body, then those chemicals act as a sources of nutrients for algae, and thereby entire water body may get covered with algal growth. And if algae is more then the inner aquatic species like fish will definitely die. Fourth effect of water pollution is on biological oxygen demand, that is BOD. So biological oxygen demand is the amount of oxygen required by bacteria to break organic waste into simpler form. So more the polluted water means more organic waste present in it, and in that case bacteria will be require more oxygen to degrade organic waste. So BOD will increase. So polluted water has more biological oxygen demand, and generally it lead to death of species. Next effect is on biomagnification. So biomagnification is a process by which chemical increase in concentration through food chain. For example, the amount of water may have a very low amount of DDT, but gradually it increased and magnified in aquatic food chain through zooplankton, minnows, and needlefish, and finally, when these fish are consumed by birds, then the amount of DDT in bird is observed to be very high. It is around 10 ppm, and in that case, generally birds are unable to survive, and whenever they reproduce, their eggs become very weak, and eggshell is also very weak, and therefore entire life cycle of the bird get affected. Another example of biomagnification is Minamata disease. So, on the coastal area of Japan, there is a Minamata Bay. For a long period of time, factories were discharging their industrial effluents directly in this Minamata water body. As a result of this, water body Minamata Bay become extremely polluted. Then many of the fishes which consume those toxic amount of chemicals, especially rich in mercury, then these fishes were also contaminated. Gradually, these fishes these fishes were consumed by human beings, and human beings were severely affected by a disease which is known as Minamata disease. Second example of biomagnification is Itai disease. This disease also happened in Japan. So in Japan, farmers of Japan unknowingly use toxic industrial effluent for irrigating their crop field. And when these crops were consumed by human beings, then the amount of cadmium was very high. So this cadmium toxicity resulted in crippling disorder in many human beings, and this disease is known as Itai disease. Water pollution can also affect baby. If nitrate is high in water, then it may lead to blue baby syndrome. So the color of the baby turns blue because the oxygen supply in hemoglobin considerably get reduced due to the presence of nitrate. Excessive amount of fluorine can also result discoloration of teeth, and this disease is known as fluorosis. We can control water pollution by using less agrochemicals, by using nitrogen fixing plants instead of fertilizers, by using more and more biopesticides which are very safe, for example neem extract, and we can reduce water pollution by planting more trees. We can also treat water. The water which is already contaminated can be made purified by using certain technical devices. So these days all industries need to have such type of water treatment plant in their premises.